Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the World of Eora. I'm your host, Eric, aka Gingerino. This is just kind of a fun little bonus episode I'm doing since my previous one. This is my other episode on spirits, except just not the ghosty kind of spirits, the more of the drinky kind. Shout out to one of my listeners who sent me an email about this. Sorry, I forgot to ask if you wanted permission for me to say your name, so I'm not going to, but you did send me an email about this idea, and I did think of it already, but I wasn't gonna do it until you sent me an email saying, hey, this would be a fun episode to do, considering we just did the spirits talk about ghosts and whatnot. So here we are. We're going to just go through a little bit of some of the different varieties of drinky poos that we have throughout Pillars of Eternity, particularly Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire. This week is just a bonus episode, and other than the gimmick of doing two spirits episodes back to back, I also think that, this time of year, some families and or friends get together and they start to celebrate the holiday season with a little bit of casual or social drinking. So maybe this is appropriate for some of you listening out there. If not, it's just a way to look at lore and culture within the world. Because how different societies and groups of people create, even drinks within a certain local region matters a lot. It matters a lot in the sense of it has an identity of where it came from. And people always say, oh yeah, if you're in this town, you got to go to this location and try this particular food or beverage because it's really like a cultural moment in that location. You know what I'm saying? So, and since this is a lore program for the World of Eora, as we see in Pillars of Eternity or Avowed, then I guess we're going to talk about it. So, plus they put a lot of work into the different drinks, honestly. Not just the alcoholic drinks, but I'm going to be honest, it's mostly going to be that. But I will try to include some non-alcoholic ones for those of you out there who do not imbibe in this stuff. Fully on board with that myself, so it's not just you out there, but this is still some of the lore that we're going to go through. So we're going to go through the different spirits kinds of drinks that we see within Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire.
I'm curious. What exactly did you find there?
All right, so we have 10 drinks that we're going to cover today, and perhaps if you hear of one that is close to one that you partake of when you're at home, then maybe refer to it like this from now on. You just rename it this thing, which is a super nerdy, geeky thing to do. I think you get like plus 2 points to your geek card, but there you go. The first one that we're going to look at is called Daibo Osa, if I know how to pronounce that right. Daibo with a line over the O, and the word OSA at the end with just a letter O between those two words. Daibo Osa. So there you go. This is a drink from Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire, and it's included as part of the Rum Runners pack. You do gain 15% extra health, but you lose some dexterity. That's going to be pretty common for most of these drinks, is that you lose some dexterity. The image for this is like a little spherical glass or perhaps like ceramic-like container with a cork at the top, and the description is as follows. Ranging from clear to slightly cloudy white, this liquor is distilled from a mixture of two different rices, one short grain, the other long, from a mountain spring on the island of Osa, hence the name, the strongest liquor native to the Deadfire. Daibo is generally served warm and is particularly popular among the artisan caste. So Deadfire Archipelago being the setting for the second Pillars of Eternity game. It's an archipelago of islands. It's kind of a lawless frontier area. It's one of the less civilized or less established areas of the world at this point. And the artisan caste refers to the caste system within the Huana culture. Those are the native tribes that live in the Deadfire Archipelago. And they have different castes within their society. So this is the strongest drink, apparently. The strongest liquor within the Deadfire, Daibo Osa, coming from the island of Osa, generally served warm. Clear to slightly cloudy white. For any of those interested, if you have something that you have at home in real world that is like that, there you go. The next drink on our menu tonight is called Ekkevit. This is Ekkevit with a little apostrophe over top of the I. It's part of the Beast of Winter DLC for the second Pillars game. Gives a +7 to all defenses, but of course also removes 1 point of dexterity. And this looks like it comes in a little glass, almost like a beaker bottle. This dry liqueur, distilled from mune berries and lightly spiced, boasts a pale pink of raw salmon. Rare, even in the white that wends, and a favorite of Glomfellan festivities, few bottles leave that frigid land. Some extremist Glomfellans save a bottle from each year, collecting them for the final celebration, the coming of the Beast of Winter and the ending of all things. So a little bit of lore to go over here if you're not familiar with the World of Eora. We were talking about the White That Wends. That is a location within the world. It's kind of like this fantasy world's version of Antarctica, except people actually live there, and that would be the Glomfellan people, more commonly known as the Pale Elves. So Pale Elves, just they live out in the White That Wends, and they have a very unique culture, a very unique tribal culture there. And this is, I guess, a very rare bottle, and very few of them leave the tribes and peoples of the White That Wends. And I guess it's common to collect them year after year as they look forward to basically what is their thought of the apocalypse, which is the ending of all things when their god, Remergond, the Beast of Winter, comes back and just destroys everything, or some form of that anyways. So they collect them, and they're going to drink them all at the very end of the world. And that is Ekkevit, Ekkevit. I don't know what mune berries are. I don't think those are real. Perhaps that's a fantasy elderberry. I don't know. And it is paley pink like raw salmon. Next of the drink menu, not much to say about it. It's just called Forgetful Night. This is a drink in Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire. You take 20% less damage, you give out 10% more damage, but you suffer 3 points of dexterity loss. The icon for this honestly looks like a white solo cup with like a little bit of this drink dribbling on one side. Like, it does not look very tasteful, to be honest. It's described as enjoyed by many a brave tavern patron. This fiery libation of disparate liquors is tasty and potent. The formidable hangover it imparts, however, has caused many a hard drinker to swear it off for good. So it sounds like it's just a concoction of different liqueurs and things smashed together, and it just wrecks you for the next day. This next beverage comes from a different culture. We've looked at the Huana from Deadfire. We've looked at the Pale Elves, the Glomfellan from White That Wends. This one looks like it is associated with Rawatai. A lot of actually different lore here throughout the world. It's called Meppu. 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 Or Meepupu? Meepu. I'm not sure how to pronounce this, to be honest. It's included as the Rum Runners pack in Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire. A smoky brown liquor native to Rawatai, Meppu is distilled from malted barley and aged in oak barrels. Though traditionally served cut with water at room temperature, Rawataian students often add it to hot tea. In either form, it's regularly consumed with dark chocolate or other sweets. This one gives you 15% benefit for any of your effects, and also removes 1 dexterity. This one's fun, and as my friend who emailed me pointed out, this kind of like almost implies that maybe Rawataians have a sweet tooth more than others, right? Because they pair it with dark chocolate or other sweets. So that's something interesting. And this one is added to tea, so I don't know, maybe this one's closer to a hot toddy. Maybe I don't know what a hot toddy is. I've heard it described by different people in different places, so maybe it's like a local thing for whatever it could be. I don't know. I'm sure I'll get an email from somebody educating me on the history of hot toddies and what they really are. Rawatai, if you don't remember, that was the other main Amauan nation in the world. You don't really see them terribly much in the first Pillars game, but you do see them in Deadfire in the form of the Royal Deadfire Company. They're basically there trying to find ways to keep their people alive because they live in a very harsh climate and condition back in the homeworld of Rawatai. The next beverage here is called Midnight Mead. This is described as the signature beverage of the Kraken's Eye in Port Manger. This foamy drink is black as pitch and tastes faintly of the sea air and salt water. The inn's proprietor has long claimed this mead contains Kraken ink, a trophy of a long-ago sea hunt generously shared by all paying patrons. So the Kraken's Eye is a tavern in a town called Port Manger, which is actually the first major settlement that you run into in Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire. And it looks like it's just normal, like it would be like mead or beer or something, but it's supposed to have Kraken ink in it, right? So giant octopus produces ink. Octopus is putting it lightly. It's a Kraken. And that's why it has the look that it has. This is actually something that's pretty common, like throughout any normal culture, or like within our real world even. I know my uncle, he went traveling recently, and I don't remember where he went, but there was this one tavern where you could do a shot, but there was like an actual toe in the bottom of the shot, and when you did the shot, you had to let the toe touch your lips as part of the drink. And if you did that, you got like a piece of paper that says you completed this or something, right? But there's always these gimmick drinks, some of which are just there for the gimmick that tourists can come by, pay money for, and it's like you've part of the local culture. Some of these gimmick drinks also have actual long-standing history with the local area or the peoples that used to live there, right? So there's nothing here for this. I think this is probably just something that is unique to the area to give people a little excitement about drinking something local, and all that. But yeah, Midnight Mead. Next is another one from the Glomfellan Society out in the White That Wems. It's called Rymsjodda. Rymsjodda, with a little apostrophe over the O. Rymsjodda Lager. A sweet, light brown beer brewed from barley and aged in caves alongside northern shores of the White That Wins. Rymsjodda, literally frost shield in the Ordioma tongue, Ordioma is the name of their language, is prized among the less nomadic coastal communities of that continent. Yeah, the Glomfellan peoples are typically nomadic within the White That Wins. They don't just plop it down in one icy field and live there forever. You got to kind of go wherever the resources are. But the further north you are, which is, slightly warmer, I guess, the less nomadic you have to be, and the more you interact with outsiders. So this is a drink that you can get from the Beast of Winter DLC. Again, it removes dexterity, but it gives you better recovery time. The icon for it is a very interesting one. It shares the same as the Mepu one, even though I didn't talk about it. It's like this little brown bottle with kind of these handles coming out to the side for you to grab, and it almost looks like 3 intersecting squares. It's almost kind of like a Celtic knot kind of a thing, but it's not that. But it looks like these kind of 3 intersecting squares side by side. That's Rymsjodda Lager. Next is Sauko. This is a drink included as part of the Rummer's Pack for Deadfire, and it is simply described as an import from the Valian Republics. This deep blue grain alcohol, flavored with anise and elderberry, is often enjoyed by moneyed merchants alongside a cup of merc brew after meals. So some things here, if you're not familiar with. Valian Republics is a faction that you primarily engage with in the second Pillars game, although you do have a side quest in the first Pillars game where you get to know about them. They're basically a mercantile company created by the Valian Republics for the express purposes of making the Valian Republics rich, but they're their own faction with their own governing body. So this is an alcohol that they developed from there called Sauko, and it's described as having anise, A-N-I-S-E, and elderberry. So I guess that before when I was talking about Muneberries, those were not fantasy elderberries, those are something else. Maybe those are real life things. I probably should look it up, but I'm already this far into recording, so I will leave it at that. It said it's enjoyed with a cup of merc brew after meals. Merc brew, as far as I can tell, is this world's equivalent of coffee. In fact, if you look it up, it's described as a dark brew to wake the senses, a dash of milk and sugar to cut the bitterness. And when you look at the icon for it, you have like a ceramic cup mug, just like a regular ceramic mug, like someone would buy you for Christmas or something, with a light brownish liquid inside and steam coming out of it. It looks a lot like coffee, so I'm sure that's what it is. At least they don't call it coffee in Pillars of Eternity. They just call it merc brew. So next time you and your special one wake up in the morning and you want some coffee, just be like, hey, can you put on a pot of merc brew? And just see what the reaction is. And let me know specifically. I want to hear how that goes. My wife and I, we watch Auntie Donna, so we constantly call it Morning Brown as part of the joke of that series. But I think I'm going to start switching to merc brew from now on. That's my new preference. So thanks, Obsidian, for that little ism that's going to go through my house. Next up, we have 3 left. This one is called Verkiora, or Chiora. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Ver space Chiora. Verkiora. That's what I'm going to go on here. And this is another Valian Republics one. And remember, the Valians tend to be very fancy people. And I can even see that looking at the bottle, it's a fully clear glass bottle. Looks like a sparkling green liquid inside, a little ornate, has some design in there. So let's see what this has to say it does. This variation on a common herbal liqueur from Valian Republics has been infused with luminous Adra. We'll talk about that in a second. The combination of yellow alcohol and powdered Adra results in a faintly glowing green concoction. Only the wealthiest of Valian merchants boast of possessing more than a lone bottle of cRPG, and uncorking one after dinner is an unsubtle manner of displaying one's success to one's guests. All right, so here's the stuff about this rare cRPG. It's because it has luminous Adra in it, it's going to make it a really rare thing. So luminous Adra is a unique type of Adra that is found within the Deadfire Archipelago. It is basically a unique and rare variant of regular Adra. Adra in this world, to make it very brief, is a unique gemstone that exists in this world that can hold souls inside of it. It's basically a soul gem, if I'm going to use a Skyrim reference. And luminous Adra is just the more potent version of that. But the luminous Adra has kind of become the Gold Rush equivalent in the Deadfire Archipelago during the time of Pillars of Eternity 2, because everybody who knows about it wants it, because it's a highly valuable resource, not just for its soul-like potency, but also, it's pretty, and you can only find it here. So to grind it up into a powder and put it into a drink would almost be viewed maybe as a frivolous waste of the stuff, but that obviously it makes the drink that much more desirable. To own even more than one is a vast display of your wealth, and as well, it probably has some sort of magical quality to it. I mean, the luminous Adra is the way it is for particular reasons. But yeah, so this is a way to show off your wealth if you are a Valian merchant. Next is Wile's Wind, which I haven't read yet because I want to save my reaction for whatever this is with you, because anything involving Wile is usually one for the books. So Wile's Wind, Wile being the god of dreams and secrets and mysteries and revelations. It's a god that both can exist and cannot exist at the same time. A god of constant inconsistencies, contradictions, and existential blah, blah, blah. It's my favorite god. I love talking about Wile. So let's see what we got here. The image for this, the little icon, is it's like a coconut cup. It has a base on it. It's a little coconut cup with, it looks like a little starfish stuck on one side like you would a fruit. Maybe there's a shish kebab running across it, so it usually comes with food. I don't know. It's called Wile's Wind. It is a mixture of rums and any other strong spirit available, and tropical juices. Wile's Wind is a perennially popular drink during the brutally hot summer months in the Deadfire. Invented by the pirates of the Principe Sen Patrena, the beverage is traditionally served in the halved shell of a coconut. Wile's Wind earned its name from legendary capacity for knocking imbibers flat on their backs and robbing them of their memories of the night before. Okay, so nothing super crazy. It's actually just named after Wile for something that it does. That makes sense. So this is related to, again, another Deadfire faction or culture is the Principe Sen Patrena, which is kind of like the leftover pirate faction that grew out of the collapsed society of Grand Valia. So they're just a bunch of pirates. They're a confederation of pirates in the Deadfire Archipelago. And of course, they be into drinking because they're pirates and whatnot, not to be, stereotypical about it. But it's called Wile's Wind, I suppose, because it's just a mixture of random rums and stuff. So you don't even technically know what's in a Wile's Wind, but it can just knock people out, flat on your back, and then rob your memories of the night before. And I think that's the key thing of robbing your memories. That's a very Wile-esque thing to do or say. Next is White Yennefer. I'm not sure how else to pronounce that. White, and then Yennefer. White Yennefer. Maybe this is like a Witcher reference. It's part of the Rum Runners pack, like a lot of these are. It's made with juniper berries common in the Eastern Reach, which is the continent that you play the first Pillars of the game on. Yennefer is popular in the White March and Rayed Saris. Both of those are locations on the continent of Eastern Reach. Normally distilled in simple household pots with grain mash and various local herbs to meet the maker's preferences, few bottles are exported to the Deadfire. Many of the new blood Principi, so that would be new pirate hires, especially those with roots in the Eastern Reach, covet the potent spirit as a delicacy. All right, so it's something that doesn't commonly leave the Eastern Reach continent, but it is something that new blood pirates within the Principe Sen Patrena generally try to go for. Okay, so those are all the alcoholic beverages that we want to go through. Now, before I log off here, I'll just mention a couple others that are non-alcoholic for those of you out there that maybe just want to drink something else over the holidays and you want to have your own like fantasy name for it. We talked about coffee, which is just Merc Brew, so there you go. There's also Kappa Tea, Khapa, Kappa Tea. I believe this is tied to the Huana culture in the Deadfire Archipelago, the native tribes that live there. This is described as hot, aromatic, and invigorating. The propriety of adding milk and sugar is a subject of contention among the denizens of the Deadfire. To avoid a lengthy debate with friends, family, or perfect strangers, both are best omitted. So it's basically just tea, and people wonder whether or not you should add milk or sugar to make it better or worse, and it's a thing of debate, really. So you put it together by taking the kappa leaf and mixing it with hot water. So it's just tea, right? So if you're drinking tea this Christmas, call it kappa tea instead, and then you have a little bit of fantasy going on. And get in arguments with family, because you're going to be there, about whether or not you should add milk or sugar. Call them purists or impurists or whatever you want. I don't know. The next drink is called Tani Cream, Tani Cream, and it's just described as a sweet and tangy dessert beverage. I'm not sure what this is supposed to be. It's mixed with milk, sugar, and palm stone, so I'm guessing that's kind of like a coconut. So maybe it's just like a sweet coconut drink, something like that. I don't. I'm kind of using this as a catch-all for a lot of other stuff. So Tani Cream. But that's it. That's all the drinks that I wanted to cover on today's episode. Thanks for putting up with a little jokey episode. I just thought, you know what, if anyone out there, if you're getting into that time of year, if you heard something in there that is familiar to something that you have in your own house, or maybe people have during Christmas time, now you can throw a little bit of fantasy there. I'm going to do that with Merc Brew, because I'm not going to have any alcoholic beverages over Christmas. This is just a personal thing. I have nothing against it, but just for health reasons and whatnot, I'm choosing not to this year. So Merc Brews for me, which I'm excited about. I'm fine. I got good Merc Brew beans here in the Gingerino household. So weekend mornings are particularly nice. But that's me. Thanks, my friend, for sending an email requesting this topic. It was just a little fun thing to do after last week's topic. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was just kind of a way to jump into something silly, but also, recognizing that like the people of Obsidian did take the time to write this out. And I think, like myself, perhaps a lot of you out there, you see food or drink in the world of Eora when you're playing the game, and you're more focused on like the gaming aspects, playing the actual game. You don't think about, where did this come from? Why is it named this? Like, what connection does it have? What's the story behind it? Some of us don't really care about that stuff, and I totally get that. There's no judgment, no shame there. But now now you know. And perhaps next time you play Deadfire, you think back, you go, oh yeah, I didn't really notice that stuff before, and it's kind of interesting to know that now. So if any of you are replaying Deadfire Archipelago, the second Pillars of Eternity game, after Avowed was announced and we had all the gameplay stuff going on, you're wanting to try to find out who those two repeating characters might be, maybe now you'll take notice. I don't know. Anyways, that's all we're going to talk about there today. The only thing I might wonder is whether or not we see specific drinks in Avowed.
Is an oath worth the weight of a crown?
So yeah, that's the question to ask. Are we going to see unique, specifically named drinks, maybe to the local cultures or peoples that are in the Living Lands during Avowed? Are we going to see anything like that? Now, obviously, I can't say yes or no, or very likely or very unlikely. It just depends, right? It depends on the focus of the stories going on. If our characters will be going into taverns or inns on a regular basis, or engaging with local cultures where this is an impactful way of seeing the nitty gritty of a particular culture. Like maybe we're going to see native tribes that exist in the Living Lands, and maybe they do have a strong drink and it has a name and there's a history behind it. There's a chance that something like that could happen, but who knows, right? But it's definitely one of those like smaller granular details and nuanced writing within fantasy that I think really helps sell it. And I know for a lot of tabletop role-playing games that this kind of thing also gets involved as well. Like when you go to a tavern, you're trying to find a job, you talk to the local barkeep, they have a unique drink that you can try, and it plays in the whole fantasy aspect of it. And I know that Pillars of Eternity takes inspiration from the original Infinity Engine games, and those were directly games that came out of the Dungeons and Dragons universe, right? So there's a lot of that DNA in there. But for something like Avowed, a little more first-person action RPG type stuff, I don't know if that'll be as important for the feel of the world. But still, they might include something like that. When you play Outer Worlds, you can actually get pretty nitty-gritty about the things that you have for food and drink on your person. Now, that being said, it was consistent with the world, right? Because you were learning more about this solar system that was controlled by mega corporations, right? So the kind of products and services such as food and drink, that's part of it. So that makes sense. But for Avowed, I don't know. There's precedent for it, but I don't think that it would be necessarily the highest priority. But you know how Obsidian likes to do pretty nuanced writing about that stuff, so who knows? Anyways, that's everything for today. Thanks for joining me on this fun little episode of Spirits, the non-ghosty kind, but the alcoholic kind. I hope that everyone has a happy set of holidays that are coming up. I'm looking forward to going with my wife and child out to my family home, an hour and a half away, and just enjoying the few days off I get before having to do all of the Christmas returns with UPS. It's going to be a crazy time. So happy holidays, everyone. I wish you the best, and I hope you for a good, happy, merry time with you and yours. I'll see you guys next time.